everybody. My name is Donna Gorton. Welcome to my show, Willows Bend. And tonight, the topic is going to be the spiritual side of dragons. And before we get rocking and rolling on this, let's lay a little bit of ground rules down. No nonsense, no disrespect, rudeness, trolls, or otherwise is allowed. Zero tolerance policy on that. And with that said, huge hello and welcome to everybody in my Facebook group, the Willows Bend, who are watching me there. There may be a bit of a lag with it starting in there. My tablet, by the way, is being a little wonky that I monitored the chat on in there tonight. I don't know why. It just is. So as of yet, I'm not seeing a picture started in there. But anyway, we'll keep going with it. So that being said, hope everyone is well. And as usual, I usually do kind of a group blessing / protection circle around the group. For anyone who's listening and watching, we can be seen on Facebook at Soma Fusion as the web page it can be viewed on. It can be viewed in the Willows Bend, my group, and it can be viewed on the Soma Fusion channel on YouTube and listened to via somafusion.com, viewed there as well. And we broadcast across the world via radio stations and every other different kind of social media groups. Good, I have video up. Hi guys, I now can see me in there watching you. Trying to get my match going. I broke the first one. Dropped this book of matches on the floor twice in an attempt to get it set up. So not off to an auspicious start, but we're going to banish all that, right? Okay. So with the sage, I cast a circle of protection around everyone who is watching and listening around the world for the show. And anyone who's tuning in, may that protection encircle you, that no negative intentions, negative energies, ill intent be allowed to influence us or the show, or to follow you out into your own personal lives. But may that protection stay around each and every one of you throughout into your personal lives after the show ends. So I will it, so mote it be. And cleanse my rocks as well. Clear all energies off except for your own, and hope that you will work with mine. And what the heck, let's stage the old dog down too, just for good measure. There's Puppy Jake. We'll stage him down too. Of all old age energies, except for your own doggy dementia. He's like, oh, go away with that. Anyhow, hi guys. Yes, so I will it, so mote it be. There we go. So I'm going to try this over on this side again, where I normally keep it and where it's natural for my eye line to look for my tablet. Hi, Deborah. Welcome. Oh, yucky, Sandy. Hopefully, are you going to be up for the book club then? I don't know about that, girl. Well, hopefully everything goes well, and positive thoughts and prayers and well wishes to Sandy for enduring that particularly nasty, horrible procedure, of which I'm not looking forward to. Colonoscopy, I know it's a necessary evil. When you reach a certain age, it's just a good idea. But yeah, that's not one I'm going to run into with open arms. So put it that way. All right, guys. So hi, Renee. So tonight we're going to be talking about the spiritual side of dragons, and also, as an aside, happy International Women's Day to all of our women viewers and listeners worldwide. Excuse me. My love and support and power to the women goes out to all of my sisters worldwide, and surround you all with positive energy and in celebration of the strength that each and every one of you holds within. So that said, let's get this party started, shall we? All right, so the spiritual side of dragons. Now, a few weeks ago, I had a hand procedure done, but previous to the surgery, I had presented just the topic of the history of dragons and so forth in general, going all the way back across all different cultures and pretty much it's been shown that there is a very historic view of dragons being a part of really every main culture in existence in the world, pretty much. Now, not 100%, of course, but the majority of them, they have a very ancient, long-standing history of knowledge base of dragon story, lore, etc. And forgive me, I'm getting a draft on my legs. I wasn't anticipating. Oh, for heaven's sake. Sorry, guys. You know what? Let's do this for a moment. Sorry for the jostling. My cord grew too tight on it and it toppled it. So rather than toppling it again, I use this little heater in the bathroom during a shower just to make it as draftless as possible. And I thought I put it well within reach before the show, should I need it. Apparently not. So forgive me. I will get organized, I promise. It's been one of those days, when you have one of those days where like it starts as soon as your eyes open and it doesn't stop until, well, long after it should. Hi, Nancy. You're not late, honey. We haven't really gotten going on the topic yet, so you're good. Yeah, please like and share. Thank you, Sandy. All right. Ms. Fabra, or whatever we want to call it. Hakuna Matata. Okay, so we covered the historical side of dragons and pretty much all the main cultures a few weeks ago, and I promised you guys then, and it was voted upon because in my show and in my group, the audience chooses the topic that we're going to be covering in here, and so it's a majority rules type of voting thing. And then I go and research it and present it the following week. And I promised you back then that I would be covering this. So even though, yes, handwriting is still interesting and quite rather difficult, I still did it. Now it's not going to be a super, super long show from the notes side of things because of it, but I did what I could. So better than no show, right? Or another older topic yet again. So with that said, the definition essentially of what the spiritual side of dragons is, or a spiritual dragon is, a spiritual dragon, they are ancient and wise and open-hearted etheric beings of the realms where the angelic realms exist. Now, I have a mixed feeling on that, to where I don't feel like they reside in the angelic realm. I think at the same height of them, of where the angelic realm resides in, but I don't think that they are from the angelic realm personally. It's not something I've ever seen any evidence of or otherwise. It's just something presented online as an idea, then it gets kind of copy and pasted over from website to website. A lot of those cases, because it's one of these topics that obviously there's not a lot of personal experience with it or information known and understood about it. So couldn't play video, try again. Well, all right, I guess I froze in my group, but again, I'm having issues in here. I don't know why. All right, I don't have picture back yet, but sounds like you did, Daily Donna. Yeah, I feel you, Karen. I feel you. Let me go out of here real quick, and I'll go back in and double check the internet connection, because when I did, it made no sense. This tablet was saying that there was no Wi-Fi. I'm like, I'm already online with Katie at this point, because we always talk for a few minutes before I get things started, and get things up and running and chit chat and whatever until it's time to start my music. And we did that. So it was working just fine on my main tablet, but on my secondary tablet, it was saying there was no Wi-Fi. And it took me till right before we went live to actually get the full image of it. So forgive me for not being able to see chat, or if I have to exit out of here because I can't view chat. It's an older tablet, and that's the only thing I get to say about that, I guess. So, okay, there we are.
Things are working fine on this side.
But I got a message that my phone may not be supported. What the hell? Good, then I'm not the only, well, not good, but, good that I'm not the only one having trouble tonight.
Things should be running a-okay. They are fine on the production side, so I'm not sure why, unless it's just a Facebook glitch or I'm not sure.
Yeah,
might I suggest for people to go check out on YouTube? It might be running smoothly there.
That is true. You guys can go over to YouTube if you continue having issues on Facebook. And if you are, the majority of you choose to go over there, just let me know, and I can log in over at my YouTube side of things on the other tablet, see if that works any better. I don't typically have this much trouble on that tablet with it staying connected and working. And it looks like my image froze kind of temporarily. Now it's working again. I don't know, guys. Facebook is Facebook. We know how that goes. So anyhow. All right. So we're just going to wing it and see how it goes. Sounds like a plan to me. So before I get going with this information, now this is an interesting topic for me because of course, everybody has always heard of dragons and so forth. And I never even heard of them being like a spirit guide thing for somebody until maybe 5 years ago, give or take, 4 or 5 years ago. And someone I knew claimed to have one, but he was kind of a hokey sort. And we didn't quite vibe great together. So I was kind of suspicious over whether to find what he said valid about it or not. I just really wasn't sure what to think, to be honest. And I just kind of would set it aside when he would talk about it and let him say whatever he was going to say. So then that being said, a few years ago, someone very close to me said that they kept dreaming of a dragon. And I said, okay, so what about the dragon and in what way? And they would go on to tell me about the dream, and it kind of was the same each time, that one was trying to communicate with them, and yet they couldn't understand the language the dragon was speaking, and it was really frustrating, both of them. But that they got the sense that it might be a guide or something, because they don't tend to have repetitive dreams of any kind normally, unless it has a spiritual meaning to them. And they do have gifts. So that said, most of you, at least in my group, know I am a psychic medium, and talking to interdimensional beings is not something new to me or unusual for me to do. So I offered, hey, do you want me to see if I can, I don't know, try communication? This sounds crazy, but let me try it and see what happens with something I've not encountered before. I really tried to go in neutral, not without any, not having any expectations, because I don't know what to expect. And I really only have all the lore regarding dragons to go on. So it's kind of like, all right, well, I can try. And I tried connecting, and lo and behold, was able to connect. And the dragon refused to speak English to me. But I said, okay, well, look, I'm here as a liaison, if you will, to try to bridge the gap of communication between them and yourself. And so if you're not comfortable speaking English, or it's beneath you or whatever, you can show me images and we can go with that. And I just that easily, I started seeing all these different visions of them together from another lifetime, riding together, flying together, going and doing different things, spending the night in different places and on different adventures with each other. And I have no other valid explanation for it. It was nothing like I'd ever seen before. The dragon was massive and huge and kind of scary, but I don't show fear in those situations because they'll know it and take advantage of that. So I just very graciously said thank you and stepped out and passed on that communication and said, really, you're going to have to seek this out yourself as well, because if it is a guide for you, well, I can't be there holding your hand every time to bridge the gap for communication. You're going to have to figure out how to communicate between the two of you eventually. And either you learn dragon speak or they learn get over speaking English. And I got the distinct feeling that it was viewed as English was beneath them. Not that they couldn't. It was like an obstinance. I choose not to because puny humans are, slow and dumb and whatever, and I'm not going to do it and lower myself to those standards. So they do have an ego the size of the moon. They are very spiritual, wise beings. However, they do tend to think very highly of themselves. Excuse me, in terms of being like higher above other beings of the different worlds, dimensions, realms, etc. Now, who they had been together, there was a lot of respect in that relationship. However, with who they are now, not so much. And the person now didn't share those past life memories. They've always had trouble recalling their past lives, and nothing was jogging a memory to bring it forward. And so that created a new sense of frustration of, I'm sorry, I'm not seeing the same things you're trying to see, or I'm sorry, I don't remember what you remember the bond we had, but let's start over. I don't know what to say. And, they were willing to try to bridge a gap of communication, but it took a while for those types of kinks to get worked out. So here and there, I would be asked to kind of jump in as intermediary, as, for communication's sake, to bridge, again, that gap between the two and kickstart off things again, or share what I got shown in order to pass it along. Now they have a pretty good relationship, and they spend a lot of time together, especially in dream time, and discuss a good number of different things. Magui? What is that word, Marianne? So now, before doing tonight's show, I asked both this person for permission. If I left their name out of it, can I discuss the experiences, as well as asking the dragon themselves, do I have your permission to share this information with people on air? And I was told yes on both accounts. Again, I know it sounds kind of crazy if one hasn't experienced it, and I get that, but I stand by what I get too, even if it sounds crazy. Encountered stranger things in my days, so I just go with what I get, and I trust what I get. So I leave it at that. So when I spoke to the dragon about doing the show 2 days ago and explaining how it works, what I was going to be doing, and saying, okay, so as a place to start, can I ask you which of this information is or is not valid? And the dragon has basically clarified, saying, no, it wasn't in the angelic realm that they were from, that it was in the same dimensional area of where the angelic realm resides, but they're not from the actual angelic realm, which I can honestly say I didn't see any dragons when I visited the angelic realm before. So, and that's all I can speak to on that. But then again, I didn't see a separate location for dragons, but I wasn't seeking that the last time I was up at that level in the dimensions. So again, that's kind of all I can say with that. But she said no, that it is a female dragon, and she said no, that wasn't accurate, and most of what is put forth to humans about them is myth and is a lot of misinformation. The one who produces gremlins can't spell. I don't know who makes gremlins. Is that what was it again? Male. Oh, okay, I got you. I'm with you now. From the movie, you mean the Gremlins movie? I actually saw the original movie back in the movie theater, way back in the day as a kid. Not to date how old I am, but So I basically said, okay, well, if this is any of this that I'm giving you is misinformation online, then can you give me the correct information? And now, back when I was first kind of trying to be the intermediary communicator between the person I know and their spiritual dragon, I was shown a glimpse of, or part of, a lifetime I had in a realm where, and then it says I get the same message again, couldn't play video, try again. So we're going to try it again. I'm just going to leave it on this side and see if the signal maybe in my room is better on that side. I don't know. And get comments going again. Hopefully you're not frozen in chat, guys. I lost the comments that were there. So someone in my chat could say something, and maybe we should try YouTube if it happens again, and go over to the Soma Fusion YouTube channel and try it there. But I'm going to keep going in here anyways. Worst case scenario. Is my timer moving on that? It is not. Okay. Let me go out and go back in because it may still be playing in there. We'll give it a second, see if it's going to load, what it's going to do. So they do operate on a different wavelength than the angels do, but are still of the greater good. Again, they tend to see humans in a more distrustful way because of past interactions with them, trying to interfere with things for them, and or they're having killed their rider from the world where there was one. Now, I know people who look at that as, I know people who personally get told that, they have a set number of dragons as their guides now, and that's not my experience. Hi, Kim. There's comments back again. Okay. So, guys, if this does happen again on my end, I'll just go over to YouTube for my tablet in order to view the comments, because it's going to be too distracting to keep stopping and starting 100 times. So I see you all now. Comments are back on my screen again. We'll see how long that lasts for. But so they operate for your greater good. They are still a spirit guide. They are there to help you, and one has but to ask. Now, it is my understanding that not everyone has one any more than one has a specific kind of guide across the board for everyone. It's not a one-size-fits-all thing with spirit guides. Other information I came across did say that it may just be a higher being's energy that is your spirit guide, and they're taking the form of a dragon, which I can't discount that as a possibility, but all I can go on is my own experience, I guess, and what I've seen and felt and heard with regards to the topic. And I, again, go in without any expectations when dealing with things like this, because I don't know what I'm going to see or hear or feel. So I stay open to possibilities in that place and time. Hi, Dad and Renee. So that's all I can speak on. Now, I have heard other people describe them much as I've seen them, so I would say, yes, it's much like how many of you might interpret how a dragon would look. And there are different views with that, even of whether it's a dragon that's following the order of the different elements of the earth, earth, air, fire, and water. Dragons each has a different appearance and a different purpose and strength and so forth. I guess I don't tune into that as much with them, and because of the ego they tend to have, I honor them by kind of laying on the praise a little bit thick for their sake. They, at least when I deal with, I won't say regularly, but as needed, she enjoys my doing it. She knows that I'm just laying it on thick. She obviously gets that, but she kind of likes that when I do that, so I do it. Now, it is said that they that the dragons can create and deconstruct, as well as manifesting physically. So they can have the capability to influence the 3D realm should they choose. And I know that the person I spoke to about asking, for their permission to talk about their experiences, there was once where they reported to me that they had a fight. She ended up walking out of her dragon's cave with in anger, basically turning her back on her, and that she got, burnt. She came back, she woke up, she had a second/third degree burn on the back of her shoulder, which was seen by somebody else who lives in vicinity to that person. That they had them take a look at it and said, yes, you have this on your back. She had no other reason for the burn. There was no other explanation for it. So when you rule out all possible things, well, you kind of have to at that point go to the impossible for an explanation, in my opinion. So that's kind of how I look at those things. So that's the only other explanation there was. They're not exposed to any sort of heating element or sunburn thing that could have happened, or heater or anything else that could have put that kind of a burn on their arm. I have no other explanation, neither did they, other than this is what I experienced in my dream with them, and this is what I woke up with. I think that kind of stuff is hard to negate, but I have heard stories of that with people where they're dreaming of a certain interaction with a certain being, and when they wake up, they either have marks on their bodies that corroborates to the dream, or have, in some cases, rarely, but has happened allegedly. I personally have never seen it, but they report, yes, they back it up, I guess, that sometimes you can bring back out of your dream a physical representation of whatever you were doing in the dream. So kind of like the Nightmare on Elm Street types of movies where, if you can kill off Freddy in your dream, it's going to be dead in real life type of mentality behind it, and where they grabbed a hat in a dream time, and then when they woke up, they still had the hat, but there was nowhere else the hat could have come from. So I think it's similar to that, at least according to what the stories I've been told. But again, I have no proof of it one way or the other. I didn't experience this myself, so I'm solely going on reports of others, and because I wasn't there, I can't absolutely just refute it as valid or real, even though it may sound crazy. Well, I'm sure to some people listening to me talk, I sound crazy sometimes too, yet look how many of you follow me and find what I say valid and truthful. So that's all I can do is report on it, of what I've been told in the past. Okay, Karen, and I am trying to stand up my tablet to see if we can maintain communication connection on that side, so I can utilize the cord, because the battery runs down quick on that secondary tablet. So dragons, many but not all, choose to overall reside within the fourth dimension, but are capable of traversing really whatever dimension they choose to, is what I got told in the interview. Yeah, she's not driving, Nancy. I think she just is changing rooms or going outside for a smoke. That's what she calls commuting. She works from home normally, so I think that part of it may have been that ego again coming through to say, well, we're not limited, we can go wherever we damn well please, was essentially the answer I got told in response to that question. That they do reside mainly in the fourth dimension. They can appear here as they choose to, but they really choose to, because of the misunderstanding of them and the fright humans tend to have towards seeing them, obviously, and the stereotypes that people have that they're just monsters of destruction, and the whole Godzilla theme thing, that they choose not to show up in our dimension very often unless it's appearing to their personal human that they're working with. But they mainly reside within the fourth dimension, and I can verify that is where I go to communicate with her in. I just kind of stand outside the mouth opening of a cave, and I called out to her and see if she's willing to communicate with me, and then I sit and listen to see if she's coming out to me or is going to ask me to come in, which she normally will come to the mouth of the cave and huff and puff and grumble at me, and she gets grumbly at being bothered, but I just keep buttering her up and I stay on her good side. So it is said that they possess an ancient wisdom and knowledge far surpassing what a human is capable of, and that one gets one dragon to bond to you, and that bond is eternal. So no matter what form you may be in, that bond is always going to be there. Now, to me, if they are acting in the role of a spirit guide, well, it works the same for a spirit guide. You are kind of assigned, or they are assigned to you, and they follow you in whatever form you're having a lifetime in. They're still going to be your guide no matter what. What I saw, the realm I saw of the lifetime I had, where they very much existed as and they were riders and battle trained and so forth, but also, they were healers and so forth as well. They had different roles, but yeah, they were riders. That they if they lost the person they were connected to, that is when they would remove themselves to the fourth dimension and just kind of go into semi-hibernation mode, if you will, and waiting for that connection to be reforged the next lifetime around. If they were able to break through to the consciousness of whoever they were in the next life. If they didn't, well, then they would just bide their time. Again, time has a very different meaning on the other side of the veil than it has for us, and we humans are the only ones that clock it the way we do, of being a very stationary, straight line thing. It's much more fluid and flowy on the other side, and so what seems like forever to us is a drop in a bucket for the other side of how things are measured. So it's completely different over there, and I can kind of agree with that from what I have experienced to the other side, that it doesn't get seen as the same way. Or there have been times I've been working to try to do something energetically, to see something, experience something, and a big chunk of time can go by and I will have absolutely no realization how long it's been until I happen to come back, stop doing it, and look at the clock, and I'll be like, damn, what happened to the time? Oh my God, what did I just spend 3 hours doing that? It didn't feel like it. It gets blurry. So the bond is eternal, no matter what happens to that original bond you have. They're going to stay basically assigned to you, to be there for you, to help in future incarnations. And one has but to ask to know whether you have one available that's assigned to you or not. And there'll be signs that you're given if they feel like you're ready to hear it. If you should have one assigned to you. Again, not everybody does, and that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. It doesn't mean you don't still have your own sets of guides that work for your greater good. It just means one of them doesn't happen to be a dragon, is all. So, let's see. Upon the moment of connecting with one another, that they tend to pass all their knowing to you in your original connection, all of the knowledge that they hold, all of the knowing of everything, their understanding of everything, but we aren't in human form at that time. And that the time of getting the dragon physically, we're humanoid in nature from what I saw, but we're not actual humans. So the brain is much more capable of holding it all, but even in that space, it still was kind of a gobsmack to receive that information. And I know that there were different races in that place, that there were 5 of them, much like we have in our world, and except they were different than ours. But we'll get into that in a minute. But each set of beings had their own capability of understanding and holding that knowledge. But if you were given one to bond to then and to raise with you, that was a unique bond. That was a soul bond that was created in that moment, that again would follow you no matter what incarnation you have. So in subsequent incarnations, one's dragon may or may not make itself known to you, but if not, not everyone does get one, as I said before. In that world where they're were riders, there was a setup much like the different races. I guess, as hokey as it may sound, hey Mary, it's the closest I can liken it to, I suppose. So for any of you who are familiar with J.R.R. Tolkien's Middle Earth world, how there were different races of beings created at different times that existed in their own kind of area of that world. Well, what I saw was similar to that, not the same by any means, but just kind of having that setup where there were 5 different races of beings, and they each occupied their own kind of corner of that world, and they all would hey Tanya, how are you, beautiful lady? They all, would come together in like a council meeting type of setup, but beyond that, each did their own thing. But there were riders from each race that would kind of train together, because who better to learn how to fight on a dragon than another dragon rider, in essence. Now, they were the only dragon riders of that world, but there were other beings from other places that do fly on things, even though they're not quite dragons. They're flying things, and they're pretty ugly, and that's all I've seen of them. Is just that I would not liken it to a dragon being, but it's another interdimensional being. So they have to be prepared to defend not only their race of people, but also the world itself. So what I had seen in the past life, I viewed of it. Now, initially, what I'd seen was a quick flash of a childhood I had there, but seeing that past life and connecting to it was cut short. And I don't know, it took me forever to go back and view it again. Just time-wise, it never seemed to happen and work out where I had time to go do it. Finally, last night, or night before last, I said, you know what, I'm doing a show on this, so what better time to finish seeing what I got to see, right? Or what there is to see. So I did, and reconnected to it. So what I came to know of this world that I had lived on before. So initially, who I was in that world was a young girl, probably 9-10 years old. There were there were 5 different races of people. There was one that I would say looked humanish, but had subtle differences compared to us, like being more intelligent, faster, living longer lives. They were a bit taller. They just were all around like superior to us as a whole. And each ruled their own kingdom area, their own boundary lines. And I was the daughter of the ruler of there we go, the try again message. I was the ruler of the daughter of the ruler who reigned over that population of people. And what I had first seen was I was standing outside on I guess you could liken it to a castle turret, but not quite. It was high up, but it was like a place to watch them train. And that my father had come up behind me and put his hand on my shoulder, knowing that this was where he could find me if I couldn't be found, and knowing how much I just was just jealous of them and could not wait for my chance to get up there with them. And I was such an eager beaver, as most kids are, to hurry up and grow up fast to be an adult, because being an adult is so great, of course. And that was my view of, I believe you had to be like around 13 to actually receive your egg, which there was a big ceremony that varied from race to race on how that would happen and play out for each race. But then it was just a knowing, and he said, your time will come, and before you know it, you will be amongst them and amongst the clouds with them, and just have patience. It'll happen. And this isn't getting me back there. So if this doesn't come back, I'm going to go over to YouTube, guys, just FYI. Try getting in it once more. So that was really all I had seen at the first time out of the gate of seeing that lifetime, was watching them and flying and fighting and stuff in front of me in the sky, and wanting so desperately to be a part of that and join them, and just like antsy pants over it. Now it's showing no Wi-Fi again on this tablet. Okay, so it must be the tablet that's being a piece of crap, guys. Sorry about that. We'll have to forego comments unless they come back. That's all I can do. So when I went back in to see what happened in that lifetime, because I didn't see past that age. I was shown the ceremony where I received my egg, and it was a big to-do where everybody in the royal family, if you will, they weren't royal, but it wasn't like a king, but like the ruler of that population of people, and everyone associated with that family, and the subsequent people who worked in different roles below them. Everybody was there, and I was in like the finest dress that I had for the age, and I was brought down the aisle towards. Still saying I have no Wi-Fi on my tablet over here for whatever reason. It's just being dumb, guys. I don't understand. Let's see if I get it back here. And it was with big, really serious, in-depth kind of, not pomp and circumstance, if you will, but that seriousness of just to understand and take in the sense of responsibility and obligation I would have as becoming a writer, and what a weight that was to carry, and it wasn't to be taken lightly. And then I went on to see where once my egg had cracked open, basically, I was told the name of my dragon. I received it. It was common for it to kind of leave a brand on your forehead, not super big, but kind of a brand, of the shape of its snout. So if it had little horns up off its face, well, you got that in there as well. But it wasn't scorching you, and it immediately kind of took the pain away from you as soon as you had it and felt it. But with that, you kind of almost got bowled over in receiving all of the knowledge and that they had to share with you. Trying to get back into my group on Facebook. If I cannot, then I'm going to over to YouTube, guys. I got the Wi-Fi going again, so for what that's worth. So again, it was in my name in that lifetime was Aranya. Now, the other races of beings, like I said, they were sort of elven-like, but still very different from how they were portrayed in those movies. They were tall and willowy built, yes, but their hair was much more like white, I would call it. Yeah, fair to say. And they had maybe slight points to their ears, but it wasn't like the full-on elven ears that you're shown in that movie. And Wi-Fi's down again. Okay. I guess, unfortunately, guys, in the Willows Ben group, I'm going to have to forego seeing your comments tonight because my tablet's being stupid and it's not being cooperative. I'll try shutting it down and restarting it, but I can't guarantee that. It shouldn't be impacting its signal or the Wi-Fi, but we'll give it a shot. Anyway, so there were those who were the highest in advancement from the other races of beings on that world. We were like closely second. They were split into two different realms amongst themselves. One was more nomadic in nature, and the other had like permanent dwellings in the woods that you could see from the perspective of where I lived. You could see the woods off in the distance. They maintained a permanent setup there, but the others were much more nomadic, and they just traveled from place to place as they saw the need or it suited them. But they still were related but different, if that makes any sense. There were also a race of little people, which I was told that those who carry the gene for dwarfism here in our world today are that gene has kind of got paid forward from that place in time, and that they're sort of descended from that today, where we see dwarfism occur on Earth, that kind of comes from that place. There was also a race of higher beings of which the dragons belonged to. Many of the mythological creatures came from this collection of beings of what we call mythological beings, or cryptids. They're all there. And so from what I've seen of it, from when I died, in the original form I was in, your dragon would then remove itself to the fourth to fifth dimension to await the next time one soul reached out to reconnect. And I was lost during a fight that occurred where like this big energetic rift, if you will, for a portal, I don't know what else to call it, opened in the sky, and these other beings came in through it and started attacking. And I was lost in that fight. And I got the name of my dragon, and that's when I returned from that viewing and kind of came forward to confirm what I got with my friend's dragon, and which confirmed everything and said, now it's up to you to, I can't help you anymore. Basically, leave me alone tonight. And I'm done answering your questions. And so that ended that communication. She was getting grumpy with me, so I don't push it that far, just out of respect, I guess. Okay, so we're back in Willows Bend. See if the video will play and maintain it. If not, we're gonna have to say no go on chat. We'll see. There's an arrow. There we go. All right, we'll see what happens, guys. If not, I apologize. I don't know why my tablet's being drunk tonight, but apparently it is. So from that point on, that the dragon will become your spirit guide for when you're ready to reach out for it and seek it out. Again, not everyone has one, but some do. And you don't know unless you're going to look and connect. So how can one connect to find out if they even had one? Aranok was my dragon's name. Now, what one can do to see if they have one that is connected to them, they can first, via meditation, ask if you do or don't have one, and at a soul level, and be open and listen to what response you get back from that. It is possible that you could, as there was a knowing of them being around during Atlantean and Lemuria times, of when they were rumored to be all those millions of years ago, that dragons flew freely in and out of that place in time during that, when they were here on Earth. And if you remember, I did a show on Lemuria and Atlantis, and they covered much of, well, it was during the Talos show, but they covered much of the population of the Earth as far as area-wise goes. So it's possible that if you had a past life in that place, that you could have one. If you feel like deep down that you do, then go with that feeling and accepting that reality that you do. And in a meditative state, one can visualize standing at the mouth of a vast cavern opening and call out, asking for your dragon to come forth to meet them. Be patient, as it can take more than one try to see what happens. But again, if you go in neutrally, without expectation, without preconceived notions of what you're going to experience, or a negative mindset of, oh, this is never going to work, this is bullshit, well, chances are nothing will happen for you when you're already shutting it down before it comes through. So again, be patient and see what happens. One can also use the sacred space from the hallway exercise that I've done with people to try to connect that way. But just go with what presents itself without fear. That's super important. I mean, it is when dealing with anything of higher learning, is go forward without fear, because there's nothing to be afraid of. There's nothing that's going to hurt you in a negative way in either of those places. So a spirit guide's isn't there to harm you. So but there's nothing to be, you can have anticipation, but that's different than fear. So they may look fierce and scary, but they are there to help you if you have no one reason to fear, because again, they're there to help as a guide. So some believe angels and dragons are from the same realm, but again, I didn't get that as an answer. In speaking to my friend's dragon, I can connect to when I need to. What I was shown was the same dimension, but not the same realm. They could come and go from that place, but it wasn't exactly the same place. You're missing being drunk, Karen? Or your phone? Thank you for sharing us out in that. Appreciate that, of course. Excuse me. So you may encounter your dragon through the same type of signs that any sign can come through in dealing from the spiritual realm. Might see dragon shapes in the clouds, have dreamtime interactions where you repeatedly are dreaming of a dragon, like my friend did, where they just kept having all these repetitive dreams of one and couldn't figure out why, but it was always the same dragon and in the same place that gave the feeling like they were somehow connected, even though they didn't understand how they were and they couldn't understand what the dragon was saying. But they felt like there was definitely a message there if they could only try to get to understand it. And then it turns out, yeah, the dragon could have spoke English and was just choosing not to. But my comments just jumped exponentially. No, I do appreciate this sharing in that. Absolutely, honey. So you may also have a noise that you can hear. Some people report hearing sounds associated with seeking them out of, stereotypical types of sounds you might hear from a dragon, like the harumping, growly, type of noises that I in no way, shape, or form can fully imitate in my human voice, and that I'm a woman. I can't make it low enough to get the sounds of it right by any means, and usually she laughs at me for trying because it's such a farce of what she actually sounds like when I try to imitate her. But it's much gruffer and just very low, I would say bass sounding in nature. Just it has that gravelly sound to it in their speech, and there's the cadence of the speech, and just kind of, grumbly. That's good. That's how what I call her is grumbly. So you might experience a noise. Some do. You may get a vibe that you feel that says that you just feel like there is one there. You're sensing something being there in the presence of one. Well, go with what you get. I have always said that to everybody I've ever worked with. Trust what comes through. So if you have one as a guide, the dragon is the form that it chooses to occupy. Let's see. So seeing one can mean transformation. And so if you're seeing a dragon somewhere in your life in dream time or in the clouds or in some other symbol or sign that you keep coming across, kind of like synchronicity, where you keep always seeing the same numbers appear all the time, that we assign a certain meaning to that via numerology. Same idea. So if you keep encountering a dragon form over and over, it can mean that a transformation in your life is going to be happening and coming up, where it's moving forward in whatever level it's going to head in, but to be open to that change and not fighting against it. Understanding that they're there to help drive you forward through whatever change you will be facing in order to reach your full potential, as one spirit guide naturally does. They're there for your greater good, and to understand that they're not there to hurt you, and they're there to teach you and have you learn from them. That's what I hear in recordings. Breathing and the answer is great, I hope. Well, and ask yourself that, Marianne, do you feel like it could be that? I haven't heard all of your recordings to tell you, if that is the sound you're hearing, but, that is something to ask and see what you hear back as an answer. If it is a guide, well, then I would think that they should make themselves known to you in some way. And dragons are associated with the traits of passion, determination, high energy, being motivated and courageous. And interestingly, the view of what their attributes are can vary depending on which lens you view it through. So, like, for example, Asian cultures, they see dragons as a sign of success and having luck, strength, and power. Native American culture, on the other hand, they vibe more towards the snake serpent type of lore or shape in their lore, which some dragons are portrayed as being much more snake-like. In fact, there are many cultures that do view snakes or dragons as a great serpent rather than a four-legged creature that ambles about with wings, and more lizard-like, if you will. So Native Americans see it more as serpent or snake-like, and that's what their lore reflects. But obviously they are closely related. They're still reptilians, right? The Celtic view, here a dragon is associated with all four elements and the cardinal directions as well. So earth, air, fire, and water, and north, south, east, and west. So you can have a dragon of the west, you can have a dragon of the north, you can have a fire dragon or a water dragon or an air dragon. And each occupies characteristics pertaining to that direction or that that element that it might carry and reside within. The Druids believed the dragons stood for vitality and referenced the psychic self and ancient wisdom and power. And it seems like those traits of knowledge and power are pretty universal across the board, no matter what culture is viewing them. And other traits that they're said to have is psychic ability, speaking your truth, fearlessness, passionate, magical abilities, ancient wisdom, adaptable to radical change, rage, the downside of it, nobility, worthy cause, and sense of humor. And the ways to strengthen your bond with your dragon, if you find that you have one, is through meditating, collecting dragon images that resonate to you, whether it's jewelry or posters or books, whatever, communicating via drawings, asking them to reveal themselves through the drawing to see, do I have one associated with me? Are you a dragon? I don't think you're a dragon, Karen. They don't tend to take human form because they look down on humans, so they're not fond of the human form. They think it limits us in our scope and our depth and so forth, and our gifts that we're limited by the human mind. You can also begin a journal to collect your thoughts, feelings, any images you might get in meditation, any pictures, or any other information that might come through. You can use the cave opening visualization to initiate interaction with them, which is what I do when I go to speak to my friend's dragon. I visualize the opening of the cave. It's a great, huge cavern that's way more massive than I am, and I'm just standing in front of it, and I call into it to ask to speak to her and see if she's willing to come out and talk to me or invite me in. Agree with the dragons, exactly. It's better to. Some believe that anyone can access walking with a dragon by simply clearing one's mind and being of purest intentions to ask one to come through for you, as in, like, anyone can call on one at any time to help you. She does have a good sense of humor. Her dragon would be funny. Yes, I'm guessing so. And maybe a side drinker too. Dragging chains associated with hearing them. No question is too dumb to ask, Marianne. And no, that wouldn't be associated with them because they've never been captive. So even in any gear they wore from the riders, it didn't contain chains because they weren't bound to and forced to work for us. It was a collaborative team bonding together. So they happily carried you. So whilst you may have riding gear that was, to help keep you in the saddle, so to speak, other than that, they weren't forced into it. Not that I saw anyway. And the only dumb question is the one that doesn't get asked. And I'm a firm believer in that one too. And so, yes, I would say you're probably hearing something else other than a dragon if you're hearing chain noises. You would drive your dragon to drink. That is possible, Karen. So some believe that you can, call one to you for help simply by asking, and having the purest intention for one to come through, even if it's not necessarily associated to you and connected to you, that you can still call on one. There are those that, do believe in that. Nope, that's okay. And I've offered to come in and see what you have at your house, Marianne, but you never gave me a solid answer, so I stopped asking, basically. So still others say that they're actually from the 7th dimension, but did exist in a physical form on the 4th dimension, which mine would spew violet smoke out its nostrils, and nothing wrong with that, Chris. So, it's going to vary from person to person, what they look like, what color they are, what shape they are in, what attributes they may have can vary. So based on my experiences, that wasn't correct information per se of them being from the 7th dimension. But like I said, the answer I got when I asked my friend's dragon was that they could travel through all of them and they weren't limited. She didn't say it as nicely as that, but that was the gist of her answer. Which is why some, like me, do have past life memories of them, and that there's so many representations of them, despite, again, location, religious beliefs, whatever, around the world. Most main cultures have a belief in dragon-like beings that existed within their culture. It's just what the variation of shapes may look like can change. And some are more serpent-like in nature, but most still have the same attribute of being able to breathe fire and being very powerful and wise and being related to serpents in some way, or reptilian. I guess I would use that word instead. So having a dragon guardian, now it's thought that anyone is capable of asking for one's assistance, like I said a minute ago, but it's kind of much like a person's regular guides are different, and not everyone's willing to have one as a guardian or protector or / totem. For those drawn to a dragon magic, typically can or do have one as a guardian. And a dragon chooses you, not the other way around, and can be around you for its own reasons as well. It would come in handy to drive your dragon to drink. Or just having a dragon. And forgive the allergies tonight. I found just before we started, Katie, actually, that I had dropped one of my allergy pills on the floor, and it didn't actually end up in my mouth when I went to swallow both of them. So I only got a half dose. So I'm kind of operating in a deficit there. I did take the second one, but they're better off taken together. Oh, fire breathing could come in handy, but they weren't by nature destructive with it, at least not in the world I saw them in. It was simply another tool one had, much like a horse can run or jump. It was something else that they could do, but it wasn't like they went around, like they're shown in movies, attacking small villages with fire and torching everything around them. Yes, they could have a temper, but that wasn't something that they would seek to do just because. Now, it could be done in retribution for, say, killing the rider or something, maybe in a fit of anger. It could happen that way, but it's not something they would just go around spewing, fire out just because. And that is often what they would do. Plus, their bodies put off such warmth because the fire resonates within them that the rider could simply kind of curl up around, and as they're laying down and kind of half curled, you could lean up against them with your back and stay warm, or they're curl in the nook of their tail and still get the body heat to stay plenty warm. So what dragons don't do is they don't suffer fools. They have no tolerance for foolishness or being ridiculous, being obtuse in any way. Humans are much more dangerous. I agree, Marianne. They just don't have any patience for ignorance and stupidity or wasting their time. At least, again, the only one I firmly interacted with was my friends, but it Yeah, she's that way. She doesn't have any patience for nonsense or being bothered unnecessarily without a good solid grumble at you, and that's about it. So, she just, they don't tolerate that. They don't tolerate lies or any derangement of the truth. So you don't want to be caught lying to one, because you could pay the price for that one. One has but to ask for the strength, as they don't take kindly to people trying to take advantage of you or hurting you or lying to you. Hey, Aaron. Okay, sweets. No worries. So one has but to ask for their strength to help you. But again, they're not going to stand by idly. If once you're connected to one, they're not going to allow you to be hurt or taken advantage of. They also well understand the realms of magic, as they live there within that space for eons. So there's a firm understanding of how magical realms work and magic in general, and not magic spelled with C, which is implying magic tricks and stuff, sleight of hand, but magic with a K, which is implying tapping into energies to help accomplish a goal with. Love you too, Aaron. So all told, dragons give you the eyes to see, and their possibilities, or to see the possibilities within all things, the wisdom to take advantage of them, and how to proceed on our own path moving forward. So that's really the gist of having a dragon as a spiritual guider or guardian or spirit guide, whichever term you choose to use for one. But again, they can be called on to help you with certain tasks that are necessary for your own personal growth. They're not going to come through for gain and, to be taken advantage of course, any more than you would any other spirit guide or angel, whatever your belief resides in. But they're there to help when one has but to ask. And by the same token, one can connect and ask to be shown, did I have one in another past life? And can I possibly tap in to see the memories of that lifetime? And that's exactly what I did to see this. Now, the only missing piece of the puzzle that I have yet to do is to go find mine and tune into it. I at least have his name going forward to tap into or to help connect with. But I at least got to see how the rest of it played out. But I don't consider myself better than anyone or more gifted than anyone else or more connected than anyone else. I just stay more open to possibilities than many people I know. I don't allow things like religious doctrine to stand in my way from experiencing things, or a fear to stop me. I go forward anyway and allow what's going to come through. And if more people were more open like that, then they would stand more of a chance of having experiences as well. But it's an individual choice that one makes of whether to pursue these types of things or not, I think. And no, not everybody's not everyone has all the same gifts, nor do they operate all the same way. We know that too. Not everyone's going to be a professional basketball player or a prima ballerina. It just doesn't work that way. But does everyone have the capability to access gifts? Yes, I believe so. If they can move past and stop getting in their own way and tripping over themselves, there's a better chance of it. But again, it's a very personalized thing, whether one can or will. And some people have no desire to go forward and look. And that's okay too. It's your path and your journey, and you can't allow anybody else to dictate that for you. So, just trying to think of if there have been any other experiences I've had that I can relate tonight. Now, I do know that this person I know who has one as a guide, they have this skull that they said isn't resin, but it's It's not plaster either or ceramic per se. Maybe it might be ceramic, but they bought it. It was meant to be like a decoration for, I don't know, Halloween maybe. But it has, I've seen a picture of it, and it has kind of shadowed eyes, and it has a dragon. You know how a lot of the gemstone crystal skulls can have a snake or a lizard or something on top of it. Well, this one has a dragon on top of it, coming down with its head and neck down over the front of the head. And they said that when I first got this and opened it, now they were already aware of their dragon as their guide by the time they got this piece, but it startled them because they could see the eyes of their dragon in the eyes of the sockets of the skull, and that there, I guess, was another person present who also witnessed this, didn't understand what they were witnessing, but did see this. And so that's kind of an example of how they can come in and make themselves known on the third dimensional realm of things, just kind of giving you a sign that they're around and with you and watching over you and what have you. Again, what you're willing to take notice of is an individual thing. So does anybody have any questions or anything else on the topic? Or anybody out in the listening audience also is welcome to call in with any questions. And the number for that, see if I can, for some reason, interestingly, in the group, so we have the, what do they call it? Closed captioned words where it spells out the words in the group, and it's over top of the call-in numbers, but I don't know if you guys have it hiding that on your screen as well, but that's how it views on mine. So unfortunately I can't give you those numbers off the top of my head, but Katie can.
The call-in number is 929-436-2866 with the meeting ID prompt number 522-657-2748.
So should anybody in the listening audience who is either watching on YouTube or, listening via radio, you're welcome to call in if you happen to have any questions or things that I didn't already answer for you. The rest, I think, is just how open are you to the possible idea of having one, connecting to one, experiencing one without having fear get in the way, or perhaps your foundation of religious beliefs. And I am in no way, shape, or form negating one's foundation of beliefs in any way, shape, or form. Whatever, I'm a firm proponent to say, whatever your foundation of beliefs are, even if you had your awakening and you learned more of what's out there, and reside in that place of knowing, you never totally move past your foundation of beliefs. So it needs to be integrated in, and think of it more like an expansion of that. And if it's part of your religious doctrine of whatever kind that is, to restrict you from looking or having a belief in it, then that's your choice. And I'm not at all pushing you to push that aside in any way, shape, or form. Do what feels right to you, but just know that it is another way that guides can help you. And again, it's not something you will know unless you are open to the possibility of it, or go looking for that connection and seek to understand it better without fear of anything being in your way with it. So just want to throw that one out there. Jake, what are you trying to do over there? Stop clawing the floor. Dude, there's nothing over there, Jake. Jake, stop. You're going to scratch up the floor. There's nothing over there. My Dalmatian over there is trying to move his blanket out of the way. That just last night I cleaned up his area, swept underneath his blanket, laid it out again for him. But apparently, I don't know, maybe he wants it wrinkly. What are you doing? Why don't you come on up and get settled? Come on. It's okay. Come on up, uppy puppy. Your choice. So, as far as topics we have on the table to vote on for next week, and for anyone listening out there who is not a member of my Willows Bend group on Facebook, feel free to join. It's under the Willows Bend, and each week on Monday nights, I do what we're doing here now, right? And yes, it's broadcast out through Soma Fusion, but the Soma Fusion Network. However, it's based in my group. My group members are on my chat. We do love our fur babies, Lori. He is making his own bed apparently, Annette. I'm trying to talk him into coming back up and getting settled again. I took him out right before the show started, so that shouldn't come in to be an issue, but we'll see. So we do a voting thing at the end where I throw out the topics. Anyone is welcome to suggest a topic, and we'll add it to the list, and then we vote on it, and then the majority of votes wins for the following week, and that's the topic I go research for next week's show. So what we have carried over on the table to remind you all, because it's been a while since we've done the vote, right? Because of my hand surgery, I was just kind of pulling out old topics to cover in the interim. But we have Thunderbirds, Tulpas. There he goes. Ross Peterson, who is said to be like Edgar Casey was. Eniwetok Dome, or the Eniwetok Dome, which was for those who I know, I never had heard of it prior to it being presented to me as a possible topic, but a place out in the Pacific Ocean that was where a lot of the nuclear testing was done out there, and people were moved out of their native territory and islands in order to allow for these testing to happen. And such destruction was done to the islands and the high radiation rates that they've not been allowed to return. But what they basically did is took all the debris from the bombs and threw them into one of the craters of the holes that was created from a bomb going off, put a concrete lid on top of it, and that's it. They didn't line the bottom of it or otherwise, so it's still leaking plutonium and other horrible things into the ocean, as well as leaking out the top of it. But that's a Eniwetok Dome is dealing with that. We have the Knights Templar, Druids, and Germanic tribes. So Thunderbirds, Tulpas, Ross Peterson, who is like Edgar Casey, the Eniwetok Dome, Knights Templar, Druids, or Germanic tribes. So what would you guys like for next week? Let me get my leg up here, Jake. Put your tail. Yes, I know. It's all right. Good boy. Did my chat freeze again? It might have. Nope. Okay. So we'll give everybody a minute. So Marianne says Ross Peterson. Chris says Ross Peterson. Tanya says the Druids. Yes, I can get you guys a treat out, even though it's not what I was reaching for. Now I got both of them out here. Let me get the bag out here because his bag's bigger than yours. Well, little girl. Ow, really? You know what? I'm going to sit on you and cut your claws one of these days, and you're not going to like it. Thunderbird says Sandy. The other Sandy says Druids. And that says Tulpas. You're close, and that is Tulpas, but very close. You claw me again, I'm not giving them to you. Be aware. Spasmo. Come on in back where I always give them to you. Pay attention. Back here. Come on. Get out of the way. So Jake can have his in peace. Is that everybody? That doesn't seem like 13 votes. Again, the list is Thunderbirds, Tulpas, Ross Peterson, Eniwetok Dome, Knights Templar, Druids, or Germanic tribes. I know that when Amanda was in, that was her topic of interest. Stacy's saying Ross Peterson for me, Dad, and Mom. Okay. Let's put his straight back Bad cats away. Okay, so 3, 4, Ross Peterson. And your dad's actually the one who suggested the topic. Is that it? Anybody else? I'm open. I'm not very educated on any of them. Okay. Well, the way we work it is I keep, unless there's 2 or 3 weeks in a row where nobody's voting on a topic, then I'll remove it from the list. And otherwise, we just keep the others in rotation with the understanding that they'll eventually get covered. And anybody is welcome to submit a new topic at any time to put on the list. There was one, maybe it was Chris who suggested it. I'm not positive in my memory. Somebody had suggested one for next week, and I'm kind of blanking on who it was. Me and my memory. Renee says the dome. Okay. But it's a terrible thing. Something needs to be done about that. After I watched the documentary on it, and just the idea of what's going in the ocean alone, never mind the surface. Cass heard treats and he was flying up on a bed. That's funny. She comes running as soon as I open the drawer, never mind. And I have 2 drawers in my nightstand, so I'm like, your treats are but one small thing out of both drawers here. And hardly the only reason I get in there for. I'm not getting in solely to pick out cat treats. Sorry. All right, guys. So speak now or forever hold your peace. Thunderbirds, Tulpas, Ross Peterson, Eniwetok Dome, Knights Templar, Druids, or Germanic tribes. And if there are no more votes, then it looks like Ross Peterson is going to be it for next week. With 5 votes on that one. Just make sure I'm not frozen. Oh, okay. All right, so I guess that's going to be it for next week is the Ross Peterson topic. That's all I know about him. Is that he was very similar. He was newer in human history, like more modern day than what Edgar Casey was. But we think he might have crossed over. I'd asked Stacy once. She said that she was going to find out from her dad if he had, but she wasn't sure off the top of her head. I had seen in looking him up briefly, I had seen a newspaper. I just lost that word. Where you do a write-up when someone dies in the newspapers. Obituary. There it is. I'd seen an obituary, but we weren't positive it was the same one. Thunderbirds are an ancient race of birds there's a lot of lore surrounding them that they were gymongous birds. If he's willing to, Chris. So there's a lot of, especially surrounding American Indians, there are a lot of lore surrounding Thunderbirds with them, and even ending in them grabbing a person or two or a horse or a figure riding a horse and grabbing them both and taking off with them. They're thought to be more spiritual in nature, but there's a whole bunch of lore surrounding a Thunderbird, but they're portrayed as a giant eagle type bird that is like ginormous in size and thought to roost, if you will, in certain mountaintop areas in different places. But yeah, it's very ancient lore. Yes, obituary. I did think of the word after a minute. Lost it when I went to say it, as I tend to now and again. But yes, Chris, if Ross Peterson is crossed over, if he's willing to come through for the show, because of course I always ask their permission, obviously. If they are willing to, then I am willing to bring them through. but we have to first figure out. I mean, I can ask if he's over on that side of things easy enough. Let's see who's available. Guardian, you here? Yes. So has the human who is known as Ross Peterson, is he still here, or has he crossed over already? No, he crossed over a little while ago. Like, it's been a while now, she's saying. So I will, of course, try to confirm that on air and online to see if he has already died or not, just for confirmation. But she's saying he's been gone for a while now. And I just have never seen any pictures of him or anything about him in the past to know, was the obituary I saw actually his or somebody else's that had the same name. I don't know, but and Stacy must have popped out of the show already. She popped in to vote and then left again, to know if she actually ever asked her dad that question. But he was the one who had originally suggested the topic of Ross Peterson. So, and little girl's nightly show appearance as usual. And so let's see, next, following this week, actually after tonight, Wednesday night, we're going to be starting the Seth Speaks book group in Willows Bend on Facebook. We're going to do a room and have people come in like we did for the test room. And I will read a chapter and then, stop here and there throughout it, depending on the length of the chapter, in order to discuss it and see what, anybody has any questions, etc. So if you plan on attending that, just make sure you have a paper and pen handy to jot down any questions that may come up before we take a break and ask, so that you don't forget your questions, because I know I would if it were me. So that's going to be Wednesday nights at 8 p.m. And then, let's see, Friday on Facebook, I have my show for doing readings on the Beyond the Veil page on Facebook. And also Sunday nights, I'm back on air again for Goddesses and Devils, which is co-hosted by Katie, and I'm filling in for Amanda McManus, her co-host, who is out kind of on temporary leave for the time being. Yeah, that would be awesome, Sandy. I mean, like I said, look into seeing if you can't find a tablet that you might, have it be affordable that you can get, and because they are more affordable nowadays than they ever were, and then lots of times much cheaper than a brand new cell phone is by far. So that would at least give you a camera, and we'd love to have you if you can make it, but if not, it should stay in there. I'm not 100% sure that it is recordable for the room, like if it records it or not and posts it, but we'll see. I guess using a room is new to me on Facebook, so we'll see how that plays out. Your book is supposed to be delivered Wednesday. I bought a notebook. Cool. So anyway, that's basically the week's setup going forward. From this week is Wednesday will be the book group for Seth Speaks material, 8 p.m. Eastern time, then 8 p.m. Eastern for Beyond the Veil for readings, and then Sunday night for Goddesses and Devils. That one's on 9 p.m. on Sundays, and can also be viewed on the Soma Fusion Network on Facebook, YouTube. We're kind of on all social media sites, as well as online at soma-fusion.com. And our lovely Miss Katie Kamara runs the whole thing. She is the network queen, but we're in it as a sisterhood. Not that men aren't allowed, but we don't want men who are jerks, obviously, or toxic. But we celebrate women in the sisterhood of womanhood to promote women in a male-dominated society, or career option choice. We don't get paid for any of our shows. However, there are several different women who have shows on the Soma Fusion Network that are all different types of topics that can be checked out on the YouTube channel, on the website, on the Facebook page, all of those things. Yeah, Katie rocks. She knows she does. You should be here any day now. Cool, Chris?
I do.
So, what's that?
I said I do.
You do. You
I
rock.
just do my job.
Well, but you don't have to have it as your job, and it is appreciated that you do.
No.
So
Thanks,
someone in my
guys.
chat was thanking you. Listen, that was. So there you have it. You rock. So if there isn't anything else, I guess, going on tonight, questions wise or otherwise, I guess we'll end a little bit early this week. So to each of you, yes, absolutely happy National Women's Day to each and every one worldwide who is watching and celebrate womanhood. And it's nothing to be ashamed of to be a woman. Be strong in who you are, regardless of your gender. But this day is just for women this time, guys. Sorry. So thank you all for coming in to watch and listen. It's much appreciated. And we will see you again I'll see you in the group Wednesday, but back on the network on Sunday night, which we have no clue of the topic yet. But anyhow, love to everybody in the group. Thanks to all for coming in to hang out. It's appreciated. And I will see you guys around Facebook land as always. Much love to everyone listening and watching. Thank you. And a huge thank you from Soma Fusion as well to all of you. So good night.